And when you talk about leadership, leadership is not announced, it's demonstrated. Starting with you, are you in the right place? Do you have the right attitude? So we develop the leader within us so we can develop the leaders around us. Welcome to T15, Speaking the Truth in Love. I'm your host, Dr. KD, and today we're going to be talking about leadership. And there are many different ways to think about leadership, and many times when we think about leadership, we think about things that could go wrong and why isn't things going the way we want them to go. But today we're going to throw a different spin on it. We're going to talk about leadership gone right and how it can work for us. Now, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I've studied it for years. I've read one year over 52 books, a book a week on leadership. And so we could talk about all the things that God's allowed me to achieve through leadership, but I want to just talk to you about you in your leadership. And when you talk about leadership, leadership is not announced, it's demonstrated. And someone said, if you want to know if you have leadership, look over your shoulder, and if people are following you, that's influence. And we know that leadership is influence. But everybody likes the idea of leadership, I think, but only few like the responsibility that comes with leadership. I want you to know that once you're in a position of leadership, it comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility. Leadership is not a microphone. It's not a title. It's not a position. It's not a paycheck or a platform. I believe leadership is stewardship. I believe it's accountability. And again, speaking about influence, I think it's influence with consequences. And I want to just give you a Bible verse. It says in Romans 14:12, so then every one of us shall give an account of himself to God. That means one day, everything that I do in the way of leadership as I lead people, I'm going to stand before God. How did I lead those people? And did I develop those people or use people? I think that's a big thing today is leaders have to be careful that they don't just use people to accomplish their agenda, but true leadership is a win-win. True leadership not only makes what the leader is trying to do become successful, but it's also helping that individual become more successful. I'm going to give an account. Did I create systems or did I create chaos? There are some people that talk about leadership, and there are some people who know what leadership is. And then I'll give an account of, did I take my responsibility when I messed up? What I find out a lot of times in leadership, many times leaders will take the glory when something goes right, but they want to shift the blame when things go wrong. You ask them what happened, and they automatically divert to why it didn't work out, and they begin blaming other people. Now, this lesson is about leadership gone right. And I'm going to always come from a biblical standpoint and a practical standpoint. And leadership is also team. And I want to just talk, first of all, about your personal leadership. Now, it's exciting when you start talking about leading people and building organizations and starting up businesses. And, you're over the ball team, or you're a coach, or you're over the student council, or so forth, so on. And to be over something and to lead other people, that can be very exciting. But I want to talk to you today about personal leadership. I think one of the major things that we have to concentrate on is our attitude. And so before we start talking about leading other people and leading organizations, let's talk about leading ourselves. Because here's what I know, the hardest person to lead is going to be you. Can you lead yourself? And if you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead others? And I want to ask you a question right now. Would you follow you? would you follow you? And if you say, well, I probably wouldn't follow me, why would you want others to follow you? And so I think when you talk about leadership, you talk about attitude, we've heard this many times. Attitude determines your altitude, and attitude determines your outcome a lot of times. And it is so important that a leader has the right attitude. And you can't get too low and you can't get too high, because the people that you're leading is watching you. But your attitude is important when things are going right, but more importantly, when things aren't going right. And so when we talk about your attitude, that is very, very important. And I think this is the first realm of leadership. And let's talk about your personality. I think a leader leads best when he understands his personality, but also when he understands the personality of those that he's leading. Now, there are all kind of different personality names, if you will, out there that describes the 4 different personalities. But I'm going to describe the 4 different personalities with this terminology. There's melancholy, and there's sanguine, and there's phlegmatic, and there's clerics. And once you understand what your personality is, then you're able to lead others better. But where you become real effective is when you know not only your personality, but you study and know the personality of those that you're leading. Because there's a book from Jim Collins entitled Going from Good to Great, From Good to Great. And he simply says this: you take the wrong people off the bus, you put the right people on the bus, and you put the right people in the right seats on the bus. Well, now that's easily said, but the right people being in the right seats really determines, do you know the right people, and how do you know them? Well, first of all, you smell their attitude. If they got a bad attitude, you don't want them on the bus. Those are the people you get off. But putting the right people on the bus is knowing their personalities. And so I'm going to kind of break this down a little bit. You probably already know it. But for a melancholy, this is a very detailed person. This is a person who likes the toilet paper to come over and not under. These are the people that vacuum their lines in a row, their carpet. You see the lines that are in a row. These are the people that are detailed. They're more than most likely all the time introverts. And then you got sanguines. These are the bubbly, happy party, sell glasses to a blind man. And these are the people that are all the time jovial and happy and excited, and they oversell themselves. The melancholy will undersell themselves. And then there's the cleric. The cleric is the leader. He's the visionary. He knows where he wants to go, and he's got the big picture. And then you have the fourth called the phlegmatic. And these are the people that don't want to be in charge. They're not necessarily jovial, and they're not necessarily depressed, but they want to just work behind the scenes, and they don't mind serving and doing tasks and running errands. And so why are these 4 so important when it comes to leadership? Because you don't put a person that's a people person, a sanguine, doing a bunch of paperwork. It will drive them nuts. And you don't put a melancholy out in front, especially working the cash register or greeting people, because they have a monotone face. There's no wrong, right personality now, but they're not going to be exciting and happy. And a cleric is going to want to lead. Now, a cleric doesn't mind following as long as he or she is following a stronger leader than they are, but they're going to want to cast the vision. They're going to want to give you the big picture. And so you don't want to put a phlegmatic in charge of leading anything, because they don't want to be in charge. They want to serve. Now, me saying that, if I were you, what I would do that I had done and still do is I would study those 4 personalities. You got secondary on each personality, but we won't go that much in depth. If I were you, I'd study that out. I would look at the people that I have and where I've placed them on the bus and say, okay, I've got the right people, but do I have them in the right seats? And if you don't have the right people in the right seats, this is what's going to happen. Are you ready? Not only are you going to be aggravated, you're going to aggravate them, and the organization will not excel and go forward, not at the pace that it should. And so you can put the right people in the wrong seats and cause more chaos than you could imagine. And so really ask yourself this: the people that work for you or the people that you're leading, starting with you, are you in the right place? Do you have the right attitude? See, if you're in a job, we're talking about leading ourselves so that we can lead others. But if you're in a job and you're in the wrong place, you're never going to be passionate. You're never going to be fulfilled. You're never going to be excited. It's like going to the dentist. It's like a root canal. You're going to wake up every morning and go, oh my God, why am I in this position? You're probably going to think, oh, I'm making good money. I'm just going to tough it out. But that's a long, hard way to live, to be in a position that you're not gifted for, you're not called to, and you don't have the personality for. And so examine yourself. Look at yourself and say, now what personality do I have? And does my attitude, you notice how I keep coming back to that being the foundation, is my attitude right, and is my personality right for where I am? Because I can promise you, if those 2 things are not there, then you're not going to succeed. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is responsibility. I find so many people want to be in charge. I find so many people want to lead, and so many people want to have the authority. But boy, they don't want the responsibility. I want to tell you, you got to have authority with your job, and you got to have responsibility. You can't have just the responsibility and everyone else makes the decision. You need to be able to make the decision, be responsible for that decision, and live with its consequences. Now that comes back to attitude and personality. So are you a responsible person or an irresponsible person? Do you have to be told over and over and over again to do something? Be reminded over and over again. If that is you, there are some things that we're going to talk about in the future that's going to help you. You can get better. Leaders are not made or born. They're born, but they're more made as well after they're born. And in this next segment of T15, I'm gonna help you with some more truths about this responsibility and how you can become better and how you can develop. And so what I'm trying to give you now is some practical biblical principles to help you be a better leader. And so you have to worry about you. And once you become a better leader, and that root goes down deep, then you'll see the fruit. You'll be able to develop leaders. So we develop the leader within us so we can develop the leaders around us. So don't start with other people. Start with you. Now, I'm your host, Dr. KD. I enjoy talking with you. I hope this segment has helped you. And remember, we speak the truth in love. Love without truth is hypocrisy. It's hollow, and all the truth without love is harsh. Till next time, I'll see you then.